This is Shirley Jan Johnson, September 14th, 2020. This message is not for the fearful, cowards, or the unbelieving. If you fall into either of those categories, stop this message now and pass it on to someone else. Some of you may be wondering why I haven't uploaded any videos in several years. No, I didn't abandon my channel. I've been in a legal battle with Paula White and her organizations, New Destiny Christian Center Church, now known as City of Destiny, and Paula White Ministries. But Paula White and her son Bradley Knight, the so-called pastor of Story Life Church Incorporated, they tried to frame me for copyright infringement. They hired an attorney named Thomas Sadaka to make up a bunch of lies against me. In the legal world, this type of attorney is called a hired gun. They're paid to file false claims, or in other words, SLAPP lawsuits. They're legal assassins. They're equivalent to a hitman in the regular world.
I still want to cuss people out occasionally. Sometimes I just want to send a hitman, that's all.
But now he's a convicted felon, though, because while he was helping Paula scheme against me, he was running his own scheme against his own employer, and he got caught. He was stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. He was the attorney for the firm at Najam Law. So he was convicted of a felony, disbarred. Actually, he had 2 felonies against him. But they convicted him of one, disbarred him, ordered him to pay restitution, and put him on 10 years probation. So justice took hold on him, and justice will eventually take hold on Paula White and Bradley Knight too, and all others who had a hand in this injustice. God is not mocked, and God is no respecter of persons. After the copyright infringement action ended, I filed a malicious prosecution action against Paula White. But at the malicious prosecution trial, Bradley Knight testified that it was his idea to file the SLAPP lawsuit, and Paula approved it. For those of you who may not know, SLAPP, S-L-A-P-P, is an acronym which stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. SLAPP lawsuits are generally filed by wealthy corporations and wealthy individuals like Paula White in an effort to silence their critics, especially if they're being exposed by that critic. This is how the court, in the case of matter of Gordon versus Marone, it was a court case that was in New York. Well, this is how the court described SLAPP lawsuits. The court stated, SLAPP suits come in many forms, camouflaged as ordinary lawsuits. The conceptual thread that binds them is that they are suits without substantial merit that are brought by private interests to stop citizens from exercising their constitutional rights or to punish them for having done so.
You aren't hearing what I'm saying. You better let the devil know, okay, you messed with the wrong one. You messed with the wrong one. Go ahead, do all you want. I'm going to punish your butt. You messed with New Destiny Christian Center. You messed with our families. You messed with our children. You messed with our reputation. Are you for real? You going to try to hold me to something that the blood has already forgiven me for? You better punish the devil. And that's the problem. You are, I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. It's going to go viral, and y'all going to have to defend your pastor again. Come on. You got to punish the enemy. It's a mandate on you. We execute punishment on you. I'm going to execute punishment on you, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
See, they try to stop citizens from exercising their constitutional right of free speech. They try to silence people who are outspoken about them. They don't want to be exposed. And they try to punish the critics by inflicting mental and emotional damage. As one court put it, they try to bring you to your knees emotionally. And they try to extort exorbitant amounts of money from their victims as well. In my case, not only did Paula White and her organizations inflict mental and emotional damage to me, they attempted to extort millions of dollars from me and send me to prison for many years. There are 2 types of copyright infringement. One is civil and the other is criminal. The court, in the case of U.S. versus La Mancha. There's another case that took place in Massachusetts in 1994. That court explained the difference between the two types of copyright infringement. This is what the court wrote, part of what the court wrote. Thus, the remedies for infringement are those prescribed by Congress. Sony Corporation of America versus Universal Studios. And then it gave the case number and all of that. It went on to state, since 1897, when criminal copyright infringement was first introduced into U.S. copyright law, the concept differentiating criminal from civil copyright violations has been that the infringement must be pursued for purposes of commercial exploitation. The 1897 Act defined the mens rea of criminal copyright infringement as conduct that is willful and undertaken for profit. And that is exactly what they put in their complaint, that my actions were willful and that I profited from the sale of their videos. They made sure that they used these terms, willful and undertaken for profit. Paula White made criminal charges of copyright infringement against me. She knew exactly what she was doing, she and her attorney. She claimed that I wholesale copied her video sermons and sold them on my website and profited from the sale thereof. They claimed they had over $16 million in damages, which is a lie, straight from the pit of hell. It's a lie, straight from the pit of hell.
Because Satan is a liar. He is the father of all liars.
Copying just one video without permission can send you to prison for up to 5 years and a $250,000 fine. Anytime you put a video in and you're watching a home movie and you put the video in, that warning always precedes the movie. They warn you, if you reproduce this without permission, you can receive up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. I had 108 videos on my YouTube channel. Now, if I had not been able to successfully defend myself against Paula White's lies, I could have been put in prison for 25 to 30 years, perhaps. See, Paula made these criminal, I'll repeat, criminal false copyright infringement charges because she was trying to send me to prison. This is one of the videos that she falsely claimed copyright infringement on. She claimed I wholesale copied this video and sold it on my website. She says this was her video.
Now this is where like rubber meets the road. Are you a doer of the word or hearer of the word? So you've got to practice, which means, again, watch the order of this. Intense pressure comes in, which means a hater comes after you, right? So are you going to love or are you going to hate? You've got to practice the truth. Because if you say you love God but hate your brother, the love of God is not in you and you're a liar according to the Word of God. You've got to practice it, okay? So some of that burden and pressure has to transfer to you. You've got to learn how to deal with intense pressure. So when a person starts persecuting, how many of you have ever just had somebody come up and just do something stupid to you? I mean, in the mall, just chew you out or cuss you out, or anybody, just 3 people? Okay, I want that to start happening to you. Now, I know you thought I was praying your car in and praying your house in. No, I want that to start happening because I need you to develop self-control, compassion, meekness, long-suffering, temperance, love, joy. I need you to be under some intense pressure, because if we're going to really be the reformers that we say we are, and we're going to be the world changers, and we're going to change the game, you've got to know how to deal. I have lived under intense pressure for 28 years, or at least 20. It's a lifestyle. It never goes away. There's certain seasons of rest, but it's always there. But I sleep like a baby. I have joy unspeakable. I wake up with a tap in my toe. I don't stress out, not in the least bit. Just stay like this. So you've got to have some pressure on you. I'm going to pray the Lord start putting pressure on you. I have lived under intense pressure for 28 years, or at least 20. I don't stress out, not in the least bit. Just stay like this.
Immediately when you start to advance, the enemy wants to intimidate you, but he messed with the wrong one. See, I'm serious. I was telling Pastor Edward a story. I was at JFK. Elder, please don't get me in trouble for this one. I said, we were talking about how we always get harassed. Always. Whenever I'm like, do I look like a terrorist? I don't look like a terrorist. But they always harass me at the airport. They always go through my luggage, Elder Harold. They do it to Pastor Edward too. So I was at JFK not long ago, and Rachel Foster, not little Rachel, but the other Rachel was with me. And I'm just walking through, zippity-doo-dah, minding my day. I mean, I'm happy. I'm coming back home to new destiny. I'm all excited about what God's doing. And this woman she gets in my face. I mean, she just starts on me. And she just says, stand over here. And I said, excuse me for what? And I said, I need to get my stuff. And thank goodness we're there early. It ends up that my sweats have a little tiny piece of metal. I wear that same sweatsuit on the plane all the time. But she goes, I said, stand over there. I said, excuse me? Like that. And she gets up on me in my face like this. Now, when she got up on me, I said, oh, Lord. Because Elder Harold, I don't go like this. I went like this. Now, the truth of it is, she probably could have whooped my butt, but I didn't know it. Dr. Wanda, I bowed up on her like this. I said, excuse me? And she said, now I'm thinking, oh, good Lord, headlines, they're going to kill me, Pastor Paula. And I've got to admit, she started going off on me. I mean, just demonic. I mean, she started going crazy on me, saying all kind of nonsense. I was like, devil, you are a liar. And she's face to face with me. And I said, Rachel sent over there. I said, you better get a supervisor. And it's been like 45 minutes. She's in my face. And I start whispering. I said, hit me. I said, please hit me. I wanted her to hit me. I said, go ahead. I said, hit me. I said, take your best shot. Hit me. I started egging the devil on in her. I mean, she's right here in my face. I said, go ahead. Hit me. Go ahead. Do it. See, you got to understand. The problem is I know but I know this woman could have whooped on me. But I was like, go ahead. You can't back down to the devil no matter what. You can't back down. I'm like, you going to manifest on me? You going to try to do this to me? Well, go ahead. I wanted her to hit me. I could handle a little bit of bruising. Come on, just don't break my nose. I could handle a little bit of bruising. Just don't hurt the face. Come on, I need the face. I could have handled a little bit of that. But I was like, do it. Because I wanted her arrested so bad in the name of Jesus. You got to understand how to deal with the devil.
See, that's how Paula is. Paula was whispering so that no one could hear her provoking a fight with this woman. With her own mouth, she said she wanted that woman to go to jail so bad. Simply because the woman was doing her job. Now, who's the devil there? Who was the devil there? Yes, easy to see. Easy to see who the devil was there. Who the devil is there. She was angry because this woman is just doing her job, and pulled her aside because Paula thinks apparently thinks she's above the law. That's the mindset of Paula. That's the mentality of Paula. That's the spirit of Paula. That's how she is. And that's exactly what she was trying to do to me. Now, she was angry because I was doing my job of exposing her. You see, now she wants to file a SLAPP lawsuit against me to try and frame me for something I didn't do, to send me to prison.
Because the enemy wants to bind you. In other words, he wants to imprison you so that you're here, but you're ineffective.
See, that was her teaching about the enemy. She said the enemy wants to imprison you. They want to bind you. You're here, but you're ineffective. Again, that's what she tried to do to me. She wanted to imprison me so that I would be ineffective. See, Paula White and Bradley Knight are the ones who should be in prison. There's your enemy right there. They need to be in prison. Paula White's son, Bradley Knight, admitted that they filed a SLAPP lawsuit, prayed about it, and then dismissed it. He actually used the word SLAPP, S-L-A-P-P. He admitted that they filed a SLAPP lawsuit.
We often think of temptation in terms of Satan trying to get us to do something wrong, to get us to sleep with somebody, to get us to steal something, to get us to do the 10 sins we can name. But the reality is that Satan comes and tempts us more often than not to think the way that the world thinks. He tempts us more often than not to use the strength of our own hands and the wisdom of our own mind rather than the wisdom of God and the truth of His Word. That's where the temptation lies. So when Paul begins to discuss suing the brethren, he's saying you have succumbed to this system in the world that says justice emerges when you file a lawsuit against somebody and a judge declares something over you, and you've missed the entire point of the gospel. And so Paul's saying, you who have this amazing responsibility, you can't judge trivial matters between yourselves. You can't reconcile a dispute one to another. You have to judge angels who were made before you existed. You get to sit next to God and participate in the final judgment. And yet you cannot settle a trivial dispute. And you have to call upon an unrighteous person to come and settle the matter for you, one who doesn't even know what you're called to do, one that doesn't even know your God, one that doesn't proclaim Him. You have called them to settle a dispute. How much more than matters pertaining to this life? So if you have such cases, why do you lay them before those who have no standing in the church? I say this to your shame. Can it be that there is no one among you wise enough to settle a dispute between the brothers? But brother goes to law against brother, and that before unbelievers. To have lawsuits at all with one another is already a defeat for you. Why not rather suffer wrong? Why not rather be defrauded? But you yourselves wrong and defraud, even your own brothers. I've experienced it. Pastor Doug and I have experienced it. We've been in lawsuits, most of the time as defendants, but there was twice where we sued people who called themselves Christians, and the weight of it and the judgment of it was so terrible. The consequences of it were so terrible. We ended up reading this and praying and dismissing it, but God put Himself out there and said, because you've even taken this step, you're going to have to face some things that you wouldn't otherwise have to face.
Now there you have it. He admitted, he acknowledged that they filed a SLAPP lawsuit. And there were grave consequences, he said. They prayed about it, they claimed, and then they dismissed it. Just this year, in January of 2020, Paula preached that you must suffocate your enemies by silencing them.
Fourth thing you've got to learn. Give you just a few more. Suffocate. Learn to suffocate your enemy by silencing him.
And that is exactly what Paula White tried to do to me when she filed the SLAPP lawsuit against me in 2014. And now she has clearly admitted it in 2020. She tried to suffocate me. She tried to kill me by taking away my First Amendment right to free speech. This is what Judge Colabella had to say about SLAPP lawsuits. Listen to what he said. He said that short of a gun to the head, a greater threat to First Amendment expression can scarcely be imagined. I'm going to read that again, what he said. Short of a gun to the head, a greater threat to First Amendment expression can scarcely be imagined. But more importantly, though, it's not just a First Amendment right. It's a God-ordained duty for us to speak out and to expose wickedness. Wickedness in high places even. Now, Paula always preaches that the Bible is the inerrant, infallible Word of God. She says that all of it is true, or none of it is true. She says it's 100% authentic. She says that she believes all of it is true, and she says she lives by it. Of course, we know that certainly is not true.
That you're like, okay, really? No, this is for real. This is God. This is not Paula saying this. This is God saying it. And if any part of this word has fallacy and is not true, then none of it has truth. This is infallible. It's the Word of God. It's 100% truth. It's His Word.
So in
to really repent, you have to acknowledge the truth. Here's what you have to do. Here's what you have to do. This is truth, period. Now, I'm going to be real vulnerable right now. Real vulnerable. This is never wrong. Never wrong. It is 100% accurate at all times. This is 100% truth. All the time, always.
God's gonna be God, and that's the end of this story. And we're gonna do it God's way, not man's way. I don't care what they think about us, what they say about us. If it's in the Bible, then we're gonna do it.
Well, the Bible says to love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. But Paula teaches that you should suffocate your enemies. Or in other words, kill your enemies. So now that makes her a hypocrite. Because she says she believes that this Bible is true, every word in it, and she lives by it. She also preaches that if people hate you, you should hate them back.
But the enemy also has an agenda for you, to kill, steal, and destroy. Do not be deceived to think that the enemy it just wants you to have a bad hair day. He wants your life. He absolutely hates you. When you know somebody hates you, you hate back. Come on, you got to get something back on the inside. You can't be passive with the enemy. He is aggressively dangerous.
Yeah, and these slappers always try to hire big-named attorneys and law firms to intimidate you and scare you up so that you'll back down right away.
When I first took the pastorate back here, we had a situation where a young man tried to be an imposter in a thing, and he came against some things and created some emails and everything, and I said, hit it as hard as you can. I said, take it as far as you can. And I said, I don't mess with it. I hired the biggest, baddest attorneys that you can pay for. I called every PR because I don't play. I said, this church will not be bullied. I said, not be lied on in any way. And we stopped it like that. Amen?
She thought that's what I was going to do. Just take my channel down and get scared and not, resist her in any way. And they do it to send a message, not just to you, but they try to send a message to all the YouTubers out there. See what I did to Shirley Johnson? See what I did to her? You get on YouTube and you say something about me. You put a video up on here about me. This is what I will do to you too. It's not just about me. It was about me, but she's sending a message, like I said, to all YouTubers and whoever else out there, social media people. If you do this, you will get what Shirley got. Except that their plan failed. It backfired on them. It didn't work.
Here's what terrorism is. It's the unlawful use or threat of violence against persons or property to further political or social objectives. It's usually intended to intimidate or to coerce governments, individuals, or groups, or to modify their behavior or politics. The official definition, that terrorism is calculated. Terrorists generally know what they are doing. Their selection of a target is planned and rational. They know their effect they seek. Terrorist violence is neither spontaneous nor is it random. Terrorism is intended to produce fear. By implication, that fear is engendered in someone other than the victim. In other words, terrorism is a psychological act conducted for its impact on an audience. So if I hit one person, I can paralyze everyone. The spirit of terrorism comes after, let me hit one in a family and I'll stop the whole family.
If she had successfully prosecuted me, wrongfully though, she was sending a message to all of you. See what I did to Shirley, YouTube family. This is what I will do to you too. So stop putting stuff on YouTube about me. Stop putting the truth out there about me. Stop going over to these other social media places telling the truth about me and exposing me. Because if you do, this is what I will do to you too. Except, like I said, her wicked scheme failed. It failed. So don't be afraid of her. If you have legal rights to use certain portions of her sermons or photographs or whatever, if the law gives you the right to use them, and do not be afraid. Anyway, I filed a motion for summary judgment in the copyright infringement lawsuit. 6 days later, Paula White abandoned her false claims. Her attorney emailed me and said that his clients had authorized him to dismiss the case. Asked me what was my position. I objected to them dismissing the case. They wanted to dismiss it without prejudice. But the court denied their motion, and the judge ordered them to answer the summary judgment motion or dismiss the case with prejudice. So they dismissed the case with prejudice because they were trying to escape justice. They were running. They knew they didn't have a case. So they could not answer. Because when you answer a summary judgment, whatever evidence that I included attached to my motion, my summary judgment motion, their evidence has to outweigh my evidence. They had no evidence, zero. They did not present one piece of paper. And so they knew they would lose. So they started running because they were trying to escape justice. Paula herself has always preached that she knows. She said she knows when to get out of a situation. She knows when to run, she said. She knows when to get out.
I'm deeply loyal, but I also know now, and I've learned, I know how to run when I need to run. I know how to get out when I need to get out.
And that's exactly what she did. She knew when to run and she knew when to get out. And the judge allowed them to dismiss their case with prejudice, and the court added res judicata. Now, res judicata is a legal term that what it means is that they can never bring this lawsuit up again and try to sue me anywhere else ever again over those videos that they sued me over this time. They can never. Because if they had dismissed it without prejudice, they could go and bring the case again in some other court or some other state. They could have come to Washington State and sued me here, and tried to sue me here, or try to go and strengthen their case and make up some more lies with those that they already had told and try and sue me again somewhere else. But res judicata puts a stop to that. It's done. It's over. Because the judge could see that it was a SLAPP lawsuit. And the judge himself said, if you want affirmative relief for what they did to me, to file a malicious prosecution lawsuit against them. I did. But I'll talk about that in another message. I'm going to stay focused on the copyright action, and I don't want this to be too long. So yeah, Paula, she definitely knows when to run. She definitely knows when to get out. So I filed the malicious prosecution action on October the 8th, 2015. The case went to trial on May 9th and 10th of 2018. It was a 2-day bench trial, and that was a big mistake. I think that was my biggest mistake, was allowing them to dispense with a jury trial. But like I said, I'll do a separate message about the malicious prosecution lawsuit, because there were a lot of injustices. A lot of injustices took place in that case. And Paula White and her New Destiny Christian Center Church, City of Destiny, as it's called now, and Paula White Ministries, they were never punished for their crimes. I also filed a 512F misrepresentation and an abuse of process lawsuit. Again, I'll do a separate message about that as well. So at the malicious prosecution trial, Paula White's son, Bradley Knight, who is the general manager of Paula White Ministries, testified under oath that they purposely waited for 2 years to file the SLAPP copyright infringement lawsuit. I'm going to read part of his testimony. Now, this is the attorney. This is the attorney's question. Now, you talked about monetizing the YouTube channel, and around the time before the lawsuit was filed in 2014, was Paula White Ministries beginning to monetize Paula White Ministries' YouTube channel? Bradley Knight's answer: yes. There is a lapse between the initial action with Shirley and the lawsuit. And one of the primary reasons is that we were waiting for YouTube to approve us for monetization. Back then, it wasn't an automated thing. It was you had to go through an approval process. We continued to file DMCA claims to increase our viewership. But once they approved us for ad revenue, we wanted to move forward, pedal to the metal. So we got approved for ad revenue, and our goal was to generate as many views as possible for obvious reasons. Attorney question. What was the ultimate goal of the copyright infringement lawsuit that was filed against Shirley Johnson? Bradley Knight's answer. The removal of the videos from YouTube. See, Paula White and her son, Bradley Knight, who said it was his idea to file this lawsuit, and so they waited, them and their attorneys. They plotted, planned, schemed, and laid in wait for 2 years for the precise moment to file their fabricated copyright infringement lawsuit, their SLAPP lawsuit. See, that was premeditated malice. But, the court didn't find anything. And I'll tell you why that was in the malicious prosecution action. I'll talk about that later. Now, does this sound like Christian people laying in wait? Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 26 says, For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap, they catch men. Psalms chapter 119, verse 95. The wicked have waited for me to destroy me, but I will consider thy testimonies. Proverbs chapter 24, verse 15. Lay not wait, O wicked man, against the dwelling of the righteous. Spoil not his resting place. Lay not wait, O wicked Bradley Knight and O wicked Paula White. Lay not wait for people. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 33. The curse of the Lord is in all caps, the creator of all the universes. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just. See, Paula White and Bradley Knight cursed themselves. They admitted that they laid in wait. And so clearly, people, when they were making those claims in 2012 and 2013, those claims were false. Clearly they were false, because if they were worried about just taking my videos off YouTube, they would have filed a lawsuit then, in 2012 or 2013. But they waited till their channel was monetized, then they filed a lawsuit pretending that they had monetary losses from YouTube. It cut into their ad revenue from YouTube. But that's totally contrary to what the complaint says. The complaint says their monetary loss was because I sold their videos. After they had terminated my YouTube channel, my website was still going. The videos could be viewed on my website, on the YouTube's video page. They didn't even attempt to shut my website down because their complaint was a lie. It had nothing to do with money loss. Because my website, I had just started my website. It was only like 3 months old. And so nobody even knew about my website. It wasn't generating anything. But YouTube, on the other hand, somebody can just type in Paula White's name and all sorts of stuff pops up. And that's what she was afraid of. She wasn't worried about any monetary loss because there was no monetary loss. She was worried that everybody was going to see, because everybody watches YouTube. Everybody looks at YouTube. And she did not want that. She was being exposed. And so that her son told the truth there. They filed that lawsuit to silence my voice, to take down my videos from YouTube. It wasn't for copyright infringement. He said it was just so that they could increase their own viewership. But yet the complaint said it was for copyright infringement, and they lost so much money, millions of dollars. Now I'm going to go and another part of his testimony I'm going to read, where he said it wasn't even relevant. Copyright infringement wasn't even relevant until after they monetized their channel. Then it became relevant. So again, that just proves that in 2012 and 2013, there was no copyright infringement. But yet they were making all these false claims to YouTube, though. They were just, and he said, they continued to file the DMCA takedown notifications to increase their viewership. And they went around, not only with me, they were filing these DMCA notifications on a lot of different people as well. So next part of his testimony, the attorney asks, when did YouTube monetization begin? Bradley Knight's answer, that would have been in 2014, I believe, when we got approval. The attorney's question, and it's your testimony that only at that point did you feel comfortable instigating a lawsuit against Ms. Johnson, correct? Bradley Knight's answer, Only at that point, not comfortable, only at that point did I feel it was relevant to the extent that we were approved for monetization. See, only at that point in 2014 did he feel that copyright infringement was relevant enough to file a lawsuit against me after they got approved for monetization. So you see, it was all about them concocting a story, laying in wait, plotting, planning, and scheming. See, wickedness. And you say God called this wickedness. This is wickedness, to lay in wait and plot and plan and then file a SLAPP lawsuit. So this whole lawsuit was just a personal vendetta of Paula White because she was angry. She was angry because my videos had exposed her and people now know what she is. Anyway, I believe I told you they didn't present any evidence at all in the copyright infringement lawsuit. None whatsoever. Not one video, not one piece of paper, nothing. Nothing. Even though they claimed over $16 million in damages. And they also prayed for a permanent injunction against me and didn't present anything. And this, again, I keep referring back to this one lawsuit, the matter of Gordon versus Marone, because that, I believe they filed a SLAPP lawsuit in that case. And the judge in that case stated this concerning a SLAPP lawsuit. The judge stated, "This is a SLAPP suit by virtue of the lack of any evidence establishing a substantial legitimate purpose." See, even if they had produced evidence, but it wasn't substantial enough to establish a legitimate purpose, the court considers that a SLAPP lawsuit. But in my case, they didn't present anything. Like I said, zero, zip, nothing, not one piece of paper as evidence. They just came up there and made a bunch of lies and told a bunch of lies and then had nothing to back them up. So you know that was a SLAPP lawsuit. But they were never punished for it. And I'll get to that in the malicious prosecution case. I'm going to go into depth about that and the judge and all of that stuff that went on in that case because a lot of injustices took place. But right now I just want to show you how it all got started and why I haven't uploaded anything in so long. It's because I've been dealing with this kind of mess. Dealing with you people who are so crazy, all you Paula Whiteites and Bradley Knightites or whoever you are out there that you think Paula White is such a wonderful woman of God. She's the real deal. Spiritual mother. She's the real deal. Okay, we're going to see how real deal she is. Now I'm showing you how real deal she is. And how real deal her son Bradley Knight is.
You don't know anything because if it's outside of the Word of God, it is not solid. This is the thing that I stand on. This is the thing, I know this is going to offend some people, but it shouldn't because this is my ground that is not sinking sand.
2 inches separate you from the blessed life and destitute. 2 inches separate you from life or death. 2 inches separate you from heaven or hell. 2 inches. 2 inches. 2 inches. You either stand upon these 2 inches and it creates a foundation for your life of blessing, of provision, of prosperity, of God's will, or you remove yourself from these 2 inches.
The Jewish community, they made a big uproar about Paula being wrapped in their Jewish scrolls, what they deem as their holy scrolls. And here we as Christians say nothing about it when she takes our holy Bible, throws it on the floor, she and her son Bradley Knight both, throw it on the floor and stand on it. Sacrilege. Sacrilege of the worst sort. And we say nothing about it. We say, oh, they're the real deal. Woman of God, man of God, hears from God, called by God. Desecrating their own holy book. But that just goes to show you that they don't care about God. They don't care about God's book. They don't care about God's people. Because if they did, they would not do that. And the church itself, you can see, is dead and asleep and don't care either, most of the people. The so-called church is dead. Because we should be in just as much uproar as the Jewish people were over their scrolls. Just because they wrapped the scroll around her shoulders. Imagine if she had taken their holy book, whatever that is, the Talmud or whatever, or if she had taken the Quran or somebody and threw it on the floor. Those people probably would have almost put her to death for that. But what do we do? Oh, she's a wonderful woman of God. Oh, he's a wonderful man of God. Then they go around filing SLAPP lawsuits, lying and hiring hitmen on people. And you say she's the real deal. There's something wrong with you people. There's something wrong with you if you can't see that. You have eyes to see and cannot see. You have ears to hear and cannot hear. You need to open your eyes and ears. And we should get just as serious about our holy book as all the other religions get about their holy scrolls and writings and books and whatever else. These people are wicked. The Bible says they are wicked and sinful. Would you do something like that? I'm talking about true men and women of God, true Christians, true believers. Would you treat your holy book that way? Would you toss it on the floor? Would you do something like that? If you remember the story, even when the children of Israel, they were carrying the ark, and the ark fell off those staves that they were carrying it with, and the guy ran to catch the ark, to keep it from touching the ground. He didn't want it to be, defiled, desecrated. So he ran and grabbed it to keep it from falling on the ground. He was trying to keep it from hitting the ground. And here these two wickeds are taking it and purposely throwing it tossing it to the ground. And Paula says she knows. I know this is going to offend you, she said. I know it is. And that's what she meant. She meant to offend you. It shows you who she really is and what she really believes. Paula herself always preaches that all behavior comes out of belief.
All behavior stems out of a belief system. And so someone might say God is a good God, but your behavior really shows what you truly believe. I love this translation. We say, as a man thinketh, so is he. But one of them says, as a man thinks, what he was all along, he acts out. But my behavior, what I do, really does show what I believe.
See, now there you have it. What they were all along, they are acting out. They were wolves in sheep's clothing all along. False brethren who have crept in unawares.
It's a spirit of antichrist in people that have no regards for the things of God.
They are showing you by their actions what they were all along. They are antichrist. The Bible says many antichrists have gone out into the world. Anti just means against, opposed to Christianity. All along, they were wolves in sheep's clothing, not men and women of God. Because a true Christian would never do this. I have never heard tell of any other religion or ever treating their holy books, what they deem holy, as their holy writings and their holy scriptures. They have never performed this kind of sacrilege to their books. And a true Christian, as I stated earlier, a true Christian would never treat their Bible this way or any holy writings this way. So again, as they were all along, Paula White and Bradley Knight are acting out. They're showing you who they were all along. You have been duped, people. You are still being duped by these two wickeds. She told you, I know it's going to offend you. And she did it because she meant to offend you. And the Bible tells you that if you offend one of these little ones, meaning any true believer, it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're 90 years old or 5 years old, that you are one of God's little ones. He said if you offend any one of these little ones, it was better for that person. It's better for Paula White to have a millstone hung around her neck and cast into the sea. And did you hear all these people out here just cheering when Paula tossed the Bible and stood on it? See, congregation of hypocrites, the Bible calls them. The Bible talks about the whole congregation of hypocrites just cheering her on. So you can clearly see that those people that were cheering her on like that, those aren't true Christians. They're just like Paula. That's why they go there. They're just like Paula. They're just like her. They're hypocrites. These are wicked people. Job chapter 15, verse 34. For the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. So justice is going to catch up with Paula. It's going to catch up with Bradley Knight too. Now I'm going to show you how they fixed the fight. How they fixed the lawsuit. Now in real life, in the regular world, people will go get the hitman. He'll use a gun or a knife or whatever weapon it is he's going to use to kill this person. But in the legal world, they use the court system as the weapon. The court is the weapon. The hitman is the attorney. And the court is the weapon that they use. And this is why people who file SLAPP lawsuits should be punished if you had a just judge judging righteously. But again, I'm going to save that for the malicious prosecution message. Let me show you how her hired gun hitman assassin, attorney Thomas A. Sadaka, I'll show you how he fixed the fight. Paula White and her attorney filed the copyright infringement complaint in a fictitious name. They never did disclose their true identities. Paula White Ministries is the name in which they used to sue me. Paula White Ministries is just a fictitious name. I'll talk about that in just a minute. All the allegations, number two, all the allegations against me in that complaint, except for one, were false. The only true allegation against me was that I am the owner of the websites and I am responsible for their content. That's the only truthful allegation against me, was that I'm the owner of those websites and I am responsible for their content. That's true. And all of those allegations in that complaint, all of them against me, were copied verbatim from someone else's legitimate copyright infringement complaint. They even copied the typographical errors and statutes which pertain to ISP providers. I'm not an ISP provider, I'm a single individual. But you see, he just went onto the court's docket, found a copyright infringement complaint, downloaded and copied verbatim what they wanted out of those people's complaint, slapped it into another document and filed it with the court, and slapped their name on it and filed it with the court. The complaint that they filed against me, Paula White Ministries filed against me, and the complaint from which they copied their allegations. They're going to be on my website, and I've highlighted in yellow all of what they copied verbatim. And you're going to see that they copied 90% of that person's complaint. That was a part of their fix. Oh, I'm going to win, she said, because the fight has been fixed. Now this is you're supposed to be Apostle Paula White. Oh, spiritual mother, the real deal. Oh, wonderful woman of God. Apostle Paula. Angel of the house, they say. Oh, Pastor Brad. Oh, man of God. So at the same time that he filed the copyright infringement lawsuit against me, he also filed a copyright registration application, which they sent to the United States Copyright Office, and they filed a copy with the court. What they were doing, they were attempting to gain control of my YouTube videos, which I created and uploaded to YouTube. They were trying to get the United States Copyright Office to issue Paula White Ministries a copyright registration on my videos, because they were trying to take control of my videos. Because when you file for a registration for your videos, you have to give the Copyright Office a description of the videos that you want copyrighted. So what her attorney did was, he went to my website, to the YouTube's channel page on my website, made a copy of the list of videos that are there and submitted it to the Copyright Office, claiming that these were Paula White's videos. Because as I stated earlier, when you give a description of those videos, you have to give the title of the video, I think the day it was produced or aired or published, but you have to give a title of the videos. Now, do you really believe that looking at those titles on my website, on the YouTube's channel page, or you can just go to my YouTube channel and look at the titles of all the videos that I have on my YouTube channel, do you really believe that Paula White would make videos with that title on it and with that content in those videos? No, she wouldn't. No. So anyway, the law states that you cannot file a copyright infringement lawsuit against anyone if you do not have a valid copyright registration or certificate. But the law also states that you can file a lawsuit even though you don't have a copyright registration or a copyright certificate. You can file the lawsuit, but simultaneously you have to file an application for a registration, and that's what they did. They filed for a registration and the lawsuit at the same time, and the Copyright Office never did give them a registration for those videos. Matter of fact, the videos are my videos. I mean, you know, I had typos and a lot of stuff in there. Sometimes I'd be up so late at night and I would be thinking about stuff, and I remember one I typed in there. I was talking about something about kill and steal, and I wrote S-T-E-E-L-E. I went back and I was looking at that video later, and I just cracked up. I'm like, well, I was really tired, because Steele is a street. It must have had my mind on going somewhere, because Steele is a street that I drive down often to get to a lot of places I'm going. And so I typed S-T-E-E-L-E, you know, and it should have been S-T-E-A-L. And there were a lot of typos in there, you know, and I apologize for that, but, you know, sometimes I'd be up late and I need to be trying to get my rest, and I'd be just doing too much. So I apologize for the typos and all that stuff in my videos, but you understand. You got the message. But even that, she says that all those typos and stuff, that was her work. She did that. Who would do that? I mean, that in and of itself would tell you right away and tell the court those were not her videos. She did not create those videos. Those were not wholesale copies of her sermons. And that's why that's why the Copyright Infringement Court had them dismiss that case, added res judicata to it, and advised me to file a malicious prosecution lawsuit against them, because the court could see it. You can also file a lawsuit under a fictitious name. That's legal. But at some point within that litigation, as soon as possible, you are to disclose your true identity and your real name. But like I said, they never did do that. They never did disclose who they were. So when I went to sue her for malicious prosecution, I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find the Paula White Ministries. I'm like, yeah, you know, it has to be. You know, that's who sued me. You know, she's got a website, all of this, but all that is fictitious. And so there was nothing on Paula White Ministries. And I couldn't find anything. So I just went to the Florida Secretary of State, and I started going onto that website looking up corporations. There was nothing there. There was no Paula White Ministries. So I checked under the fictitious names, and there it was, Paula White Ministries, a fictitious name that's owned by New Destiny Christian Center Church. But now that they've changed the name of New Destiny Christian Center Church, because Paula White has destroyed that name, but just remember that City of Destiny is still New Destiny Christian Center Church Incorporated. So it's a fictitious name, Paula White Ministries is. And I'm going to do a whole message on that, because there's things that you need to know about that. New Destiny Christian Center Church owns that fictitious name, and they do business under that name. But Paula White Ministries is not a true DBA. A true DBA can stand independent. It can have its own employees, it has its own business license, it has its own bylaws, it has its own everything. Whereas just a fictitious name is none of that. It can't have its own bank account, can't have its own anything, own employees. No, it's just a fictitious name. So just like a stage name, like some of these people, like Jonathan King, it's just a stage name, you know. I mean, he can have a bank account that says Jonathan King, but he has to have Frigga on there too. They have to know that he's really Jonathan Frigga. He can't just go and open an account, because it would be illegal to do that. And they not know who you really are and be doing business and transacting business under that name. So anyway, they never did disclose who they were, because they're so honest, you know. They're so honest and so godly. They never disclosed who they were. So now City of Destiny owns that name, Paula White Ministries. So City of Destiny, which is, like I said, it's really New Destiny Christian Center Church. They just changed their name legally, from what I have researched. So anyway, this is a part of their fix. How did they fix the fight? If I had just filed a lawsuit against Paula White Ministries and not done any research, and say I won the lawsuit, say I won, and they were going to have to pay me some kind of money. I couldn't. You can't collect from a non-existent entity, and it would just be my loss. That's why the court says that you must give your true identity. So if I had done that, I wouldn't have gotten anything anyway, which I still didn't get anything anyway, even though I did, win the lawsuit. And I'll talk to you, again, I'll tell you about that in the malicious prosecution case because of all the injustices that took place. Then, number 4, they filed the summons with the court with my correct address on it. You have to file a summons with the court. And I know most of you probably know about this kind of stuff, but there are many people who have never been in a lawsuit and wouldn't know anything about this. I didn't know anything about these things until I got involved in the lawsuit. So there may be other people, so I'm just going to explain it to them. If you understand it, that's good. And if I mis-explain something, you will understand. I hope I get it right. But anyway, they filed the summons with the court with my correct address on it. So they were letting the court know we're summoning this woman to court. We're filing a lawsuit against her. So they filed the correct address, P.O. Box 58818, Seattle, Washington 98138. But when they gave the complaint to the process server, they gave him a different address. They gave him P.O. Box 5518 somewhere in Utah. They purposefully sent the complaint to a P.O. Box in Utah, knowing that I would never receive it. When I was researching, and some people were asking questions of attorneys online, and they were prosecuting a case pro se. They asked the attorney, and they were trying to get help because, they're pro se. So this attorney answers back and says, oh, pro se people will never win a lawsuit because attorneys know too many tricks. You see, I was just floored some of the stuff I read, in researching and reading case law and stuff. Why would you, supposed to be an officer of the court, win cases through trickery? I thought we were trying to do justice here. See, so you see, people, it's not about justice at all. And I'll get to that later too in the malicious prosecution message that I'm going to do. But he said attorneys know too many tricks. So I guess this was one of their tricks. Take the complaint, send it off to Timbuktu, anywhere, Utah, Africa, wherever, Antarctica, anywhere, where they will never receive it. So when the time expired for me to answer, because I didn't receive the complaint because they sent it to Utah. I don't live in Utah. I live in Washington State. They sent it off to some P.O. box in Utah. So I never received the complaint. So when the time expired for them to serve me and for me to answer expired, then Thomas Sadaka ran down to the courthouse and filed a clerk's default judgment for failure to defend in this case. But I never got the complaint, and that's what they meant. That was the trick. That's why Paula said, oh, I'm in this battle and I'm going to win it because the fight's been fixed.
I'm in this battle, but I'm going to win this battle. It's a fixed fight.
That's what she's talking about. Now, does this really sound like a woman of God? Think like God, act like God, talk like God, as she always preaches? Does this sound like a woman of God? And her son said it was his idea to do all this wickedness. It was his idea. Anyway, normally the clerk will go ahead and do a default judgment. But what happened was the magistrate himself answered. And the magistrate denied it because the magistrate was skeptical of how they served me. And I'm going to read you the magistrate's order. The order reads, this cause came on for consideration without oral argument on the following motion filed herein. Motion for entry of clerk's default, document number 11, June 9th, 2014. Thereon it is ordered that the motion is denied without prejudice. The return of service, document 12, indicates that of defendant Shirley Johnson was served via substitute service under Florida statute paragraph 48.0316 via an address that is apparently a United States Postal Service mailbox in Utah, although the address listed on the return of service is in Seattle, Washington, not Utah, document 12. The process server confirmed with Jesse, United States Postal Service employee, that the subject to be served maintained a private mailbox at the location. Document 12. The process server then sent a first-class certified letter with the summons to defendant's mailbox on May 8, 2014. Document 12. Plaintiff has failed to file a memorandum of law in support of the argument that service via certified first-class mail to a mailbox outside the state of Florida is effective service under Utah law or the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. See Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 4E. Service may be made under state law for service or via other enumerated ways. Done and ordered in Orlando, Florida on June 12, 2014. And then the magistrate signed the order. And the way that I found out that I had a complaint against me in the first place was because 2 attorneys from Florida contacted me and asked me if I wanted representation. They said, "You've got a copyright infringement lawsuit against you." So then they finally, after the magistrate, put his order in, they finally mailed the complaint to my correct address, and I received the complaint. So attached to the complaint was a document, and it says Notice of Civil Action. It was from Courier Services, Defense Advocate. It says, "Dear Shirley Johnson, you have been identified as a defendant in the above named civil case. This letter is to inform you that the Najam law firm has begun civil action in the above case. I have been assigned to this case as a third-party courier service, and I am here to assist you. I will be working with the plaintiff's counsel, who is the attorney assigned to handle this case. Part of my role as a courier is to keep you informed of the status of your case, as well as to assist you with any problems as a result of this action. As this case progresses through the justice system, I will be sending you notification of court dates. Because you are the defendant in this case, it is possible that you may be subpoenaed to testify at a court proceeding. If you receive a subpoena, please call the phone number listed on the subpoena prior to coming to court to determine if your appearance is still necessary. It is important," and he put all this right here in bold, "it is important that this office has up-to-date contact information." And then he highlighted this in orange. "Please contact me to update your telephone number and mailing address at," and he gave a phone number. And then he put this in all caps and bold. "It is critical that you follow up with us. If you fail to respond per Florida statutes, a default judgment will be entered against you for the relief demanded in the complaint." And then he says, "I realize that being a defendant of a civil action may carry with it substantial burdens. It is our hope to eliminate as many of these difficulties and uncertainties. Please contact our office." And then he signed it. Now, what did he think? Did he think I was stupid or something? Unless I'm just misunderstanding. But now he is the courier, some courier who is working, he's an advocate for my adversary, and he says he's going to help me stay abreast of the case. They thought I was going to be stupid enough to depend on him to tell me what's going on in this court case. And you just tell me, and I'm there. Really? Really? And if I had been stupid enough to fall for this, and I'm sitting here waiting for my adversary to tell me what's going on, and they never contact me until, "Oh, well, you missed the date." That's what they wanted me to do again. Don't go to the court and check the records for yourself. Or I'll tell you if something's going on the case. Any activity. And by the way, I'm working for your adversary. Really? I mean, how stupid do they think I was? I mean, I know I'm not the brightest candle on the cake or whatever they say. I know I'm not the smartest thing going, but I'm not the dumbest either. Not always, anyway. Anyway, so they sent that with it. So I finally, when I got the complaint, I called the court and asked them, well, how am I supposed to know what's going on in this case? So that's when they told me, well, you have to sign up through Pacer and you can check the case through Pacer. So that's what I did. But that was another one of their tricks that didn't work. They wanted me to sit there and wait for this third-party courier, whoever he was, who's working for my adversary, to keep me abreast of the activity that's going on the case. And he'll notify me if anything is going on and if I need to appear anywhere. Really? Anyway, so I received the complaint. They finally sent it to the correct post office box. They knew my post office box because when they filed the summons with the court, it had the correct P.O. box. So again, that was their trick. Send it off to Timbuktu somewhere, off to Utah or anywhere else, so she will never be able to receive the complaint. Then he'll go running right down to the court, as he did, and file for a clerk's default judgment. And they thought that's how they were going to win and send me to prison. So when you don't defend, you're just basically acknowledging guilt. And then whatever is in the complaint, that's what you're going to be liable for. Anyway, so after I got the complaint, I had 21 days to answer. So I overnighted my answer with a return receipt to Paula's attorney and to the court. I received the green cards back indicating that Paula's attorney had received my answer, and the court also had received my answer on June, I believe it was June the 18th of 2014. Anyway, my answer was timely. I got it in on the 21st day. It got there. So the very same day that Thomas Sadaka received my answer, he had my answer. He ran down to the court and filed another clerk's default judgment for failure to defend. He said he hadn't received anything. And he was lying because the green card showed that his office signed for it on the 18th, just like the court signed for theirs on the 18th. So they were trying to get that default judgment because they knew there was no way in the world that they could win that lawsuit, because all of their claims were false, bunch of lies that they made up on me, and they had no evidence whatsoever to substantiate these claims. So they kept trying to get this default judgment. So they ran down and they filed another clerk's default judgment. That didn't happen. That trick didn't work either. The magistrate again denied their motion for default judgment. The magistrate's second order reads, "This cause came on for consideration without oral argument on the following motion filed herein. Motion for entry of clerk's default judgment. Document number 15, June 18th, 2014. Thereon it is ordered that the motion is denied. The court previously expressed its skepticism that plaintiff's service on defendant via certified first-class mail to a mailbox outside the state of Florida was effective service under Utah law, where the mailbox is located, or the federal rules of civil procedure. See document 13, citing federal rules, civil procedure 4E. Service may be made under state law for service or via other enumerated ways. Defendant has now filed an answer, document 16. Because defendant has now appeared in the case and filed an answer to the complaint, entry of default by the clerk under Rule 55A is inapplicable, and the issue is governed by a different provision of Rule 55, which places within the court's discretion whether a default judgment is appropriate under the circumstances. See Charles Allen Wright, Arthur R. Miller, and Mary K. Kane, Federal Practice and Procedure, paragraph 2686, 1998, discussing Rule 55B2. The general policy is that whenever there is doubt whether a default should be entered, the court ought to allow the case to be tried on the merits. Wright and Miller, paragraph 2682, done and ordered in Orlando, Florida on June 19, 2014. And again, the magistrate signed the order. Anyway, so he sat on the case and did nothing for so long till the court was going to dismiss the case for lack of prosecution. So he came up with some story about, oh, he was in court last week and then he was busy, and so the court gave him a chance and said, okay, then you need to file these documents. So I was doing a lot of research and I filed a motion for summary judgment, and that's when they knew then it's time to dismiss. It's time to run, Tommy. I know when to run. I know when to get out. And so that's when they filed their motion to dismiss, and the court allowed it with prejudice. So they can't come back again with all these lies and deception before the court, trying to frame somebody for something they didn't do, because the court could see right through it. Don't bring it back up into this court anywhere, not only in that court, but anywhere, any court in the land, period, in any jurisdiction, any state, anywhere, not these claims right here. But from the very beginning, they had planned, they plotted, like I said again, they plotted, planned, schemed, laid in wait, did all this wickedness, trying to send the complaint somewhere. Again, I'll just have to ask you again, Does this really sound like a woman of God and a man of God who God speaks to every day? God says, oh, Paula, you didn't do anything wrong, Paula. God says, Paula, what if you did something right? I said, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. I am God's favorite. And God says, Brad, I want you to do this. And so I said, yes, Jesus. I said, yes, God. Don't they kill you with that? And then look how they... See, this is what I preach to you all the time, people. Yes, listen to what they say, because sometimes they do preach. Sometimes they will give you a little bit of truth just to bait you in. But more importantly, watch what they do. And even Paula herself will tell you, actions speak louder than words.
Our actions speak louder than our words, because we can say something, but it's not in what we say, it's in what we do.
So people, don't be deceived by Paula White and Bradley Knight. Beware of these two people, because they will slap you. I'm going to show you some more of the lies that Paula White and Bradley Knight told on me. Because remember, Paula told you, Satan is the father of all liars.
Because Satan is a liar. He is the father of all liars.
So now you know who their daddy is. Let's go over some of the lies that they submitted in their SLAPP copyright complaint. Without permission or authorization from plaintiff, defendant copied, modified, and or displayed plaintiff rights protected videos, hereinafter collectively referred to as videos, as set forth in Exhibit 1, which is annexed hereto and incorporated in its entirety herein on the websites. Now that's a lie. The law gives me permission to use her videos. 17 USC paragraph 107. So that's a lie. They said I did not have authorization. I did have authorization. The law authorized me to use portions of her sermons. And when you view the complaint online on my website, you're going to notice that a lot of the allegations were on information and belief. Here's another one. The websites are monetized. When they say websites, they're referring to my website and my YouTube channel, and collectively they're referred to throughout the lawsuit as websites. So she states, the websites are monetized in that they contain paid advertisements and or sell merchandise to the public, and on information and belief, defendant profits from these activities. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Neither my website nor my YouTube channel are monetized. There are no ads running on my YouTube channel. There are no ads or paid advertisements or anything on my website. It's just a lie straight from the pit of hell. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's misconduct, plaintiff has been substantially harmed in an amount to be proven at trial. That's a lie. They weren't harmed by anything because I never sold any of their videos. So if nothing was being sold on my website, they could not have had monetary loss. Another lie. Here's another one. On information and belief, defendant has received a financial benefit directly attributable to the infringement. Specifically by way of the infringement, the websites had increased traffic. See 17 USC paragraph 512C1B. Now that's another lie. There was no financial benefit. My website and my YouTube channel are not monetized. For example, defendant has caused, enabled, facilitated, and materially contributed to the infringement complained of herein by providing the tools and instruction for infringement via her website, and has directly and indirectly promoted the infringement and refused to exercise her ability to stop the infringement made possible by their distribution. Another lie straight from the pit of hell. I did not induce anybody to infringe Paula White's copyright. Defendant's infringement is and has been willful, intentional, purposeful, and in disregard for the rights of plaintiff, and has caused substantial damage to plaintiff. Another lie straight from the pit of hell. I did not infringe their copyrights. There was no willful, intentional anything, and they were not damaged in any way. Paula White was not, and Paula White Ministries or her corporations were not damaged in any way. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's misconduct, plaintiff has been substantially harmed in an amount to be proven at trial. Another lie from the pit of hell. They did not have any financial harm, and there was no misconduct on my part. Defendant has induced and continued to induce infringement by, for example, providing technology on the website to download and or forward a copy to such social media providers such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and or failing to block or diminish access to infringing material, even though there are technological means to do so that are known to defendant. Another lie straight from the pit of hell. There is no technology or any instructions for forwarding anything, my videos or anything, to Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, or any of those things. I don't even know anything about Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I don't even use those. I'm not even familiar with them. I don't even know how they operate. So that was just a few of the lies that they told. But this complaint and the complaint that they copied all of these allegations from will be on my website. So I encourage you, go there, and now I am encouraging you to download a copy of her complaint and a copy of the other complaint. And I will have them highlighted so you can see clearly what they copied. All of what they copied from that complaint and made their complaint from that. Even the typographical errors that were in there. So you can see that for yourself. So now, people, again, this is Pastor Paula White. For all of you who really believe that Paula is such a wonderful woman of God, just because she can rattle off the scriptures like a motor mouth, and she knows every scripture in the book, and she can memorize all of this and that, that doesn't make her a preacher. The Bible says those who preach the gospel should live of the gospel. All she does is preach it, but she never lives it. Anybody can, like I've stated this in many of my messages, anybody can claim to be anything if they want. I can claim to be a doctor if I want, and I can go and read some medical books, and I can rattle off all kind of stuff to you if that's what I wanted to do. But when it came time for me to prove all this stuff that I was telling you and go in there and perform surgery or do whatever it is I said I could do as a doctor, I'd be found out to be a liar, because I wouldn't have no inkling of an idea how to do this, that, or the other thing that I was talking to you about. And that's just what a lot of people do. That's just what Paula White does. She has just gone in there and she stated with her own mouth that for 2 years she did nothing but read the Bible for 2 years and memorize it. That's what she was doing. So she could come out and people would certainly say, oh yes, that woman is so knowledgeable about the Bible. Oh yeah, she's a great woman of God. But then Jesus tells you, watch what they do. And as I've always preached to you, yeah, listen to what they preach, because sometimes they will preach the truth of the Bible to you, just to bait you in. But watch how they live their lives. Again, those who preach the gospel should live of the gospel. Let me get you the scripture. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, I'll start at verse 13. Do ye not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple? And they which wait at the altar are partakers with the altar? Even so hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. See, they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. Paula White only preaches the gospel. And as I stated, I'll say it again. Anybody can study any book that they want to study and regurgitate that and read it back off to you. And the same goes for her son, Bradley Knight. He just preaches the gospel. She and her son both spend most of their time, every message that they preach, they're trying to justify why they aren't living of the gospel. Well, that was those people back then. Oh, well, that was so-and-so. Well, look who did this. Look what the Bible said. If you preach it, you live it. But again, every message that they preach, they're trying to justify why they aren't living the Bible. Then they start trying to twist the scripture to make it say something it doesn't say. To justify that they are only preaching the gospel. And then half the time they don't even preach the gospel. It's a perverted gospel that they're preaching. So now, people, again, I'll ask you again, would you do something like this? Is this something that you, as a Christian, would you just make up a bunch of lies on somebody because you got angry at them about something? So again, people, beware of Paula White and Bradley Knight. As Paula White told you, Satan is the father of all liars. And they have been proven to be liars. Now, you can't tell me that Jesus, or the creator of all the universes, influenced Paula White and Bradley Knight to go and make up all these lies and then file it with the court. They're just like Balak. Balak hired Balaam to go down and curse the people. Paula White, which is Balak, went down and hired Balaam, Thomas Sadaka, to come down and curse me with a false copyright infringement lawsuit, hoping to send me to prison for many, many years and trying to extort over $16 million from me. But it didn't happen. Their wicked plan backfired upon them. Paula White and Bradley Knight are not true Christians. You can see that. God said to compare these people with the Bible. Now I'm not going to go really into depth here, but I'll do another message. And we're going to go into depth to show you who they really are. But even this right here will show you. True Christians don't do that. And I'm going to put some scriptures in another message where you hear them preaching these scriptures. And Bradley Knight himself. No, they do not follow the Bible. They claim they do. They don't. Again, they just preach the gospel, but they do not live of it. So how anyone can claim that these two people are men and women of God, that these two people are true Christians, is beyond me. You are either blind, you have been deceived, and you just can't see. Like the Bible said, you have eyes to see and can't see, you have ears to hear and can't hear, or you are just like Paula White and Bradley Knight. Your father is Satan too. Has to be. There's only two or three ways it can be. So there you have it, people. I'm finished with this message. I will be doing another message about the malicious prosecution action and the 512F and abuse of process lawsuit that I filed against Paula as well. But again, people, there you have it. Beware of Paula White and Bradley Knight. I'll say it again. Be careful how you deal with them, do business with them, because if you do something that they don't like, or you might offend them, or they get angry at you, the Bible said, be angry and sin not. But Paula White got angry and sinned. She got angry and sinned and went out and hired a hitman. Went out and hired a hitman to do me harm.
I'm in this battle, but I'm going to win this battle. It's a fixed fight. I am going to come against everything that come against me. A threat means an expression of intention to inflict damage, a menace. The enemy does not care about you until you become a threat. When you become a threat, it literally means that you express an intention to inflict damage. You express intention to be a menace. I intend to be a menace to you.
Webster's Dictionary. Menace. Something that threatens to cause evil harm, etc. Threat. A person whose actions or ideas are considered dangerous or harmful. We all get angry. Even God gets angry. The creator of all the universes. She gets angry. She said she's angry every day with the wicked. But she also says, be angry and sin not. But Paula got angry and she sinned. And yet she claims that she did no wrong. But just beware of Paula White and Bradley Knight. Again, beware because they will slap you.